government has formulated and is implementing the Alternative Livelihood Program in 35 severely affected Galamsey districts across the country. Last year, 500 youth, mainly engaged in illegal mining, were trained and graduated in vocational and technical skills from community development, vocational and technical institutions. They've been provided with startup tools and equipment. An additional 607 youth are currently undergoing similar training, 240 of whom are in the community development institutions, while 367 are attached to master craftsmen through apprenticeship at the community level. Operation Vanguard has been largely successful, even though problems still remain. Mining with impunity on water bodies and in forest reserves has declined. More than 4,000 miners have received training in sustainable mining. The number of individuals dying in collapsed mining tunnels and pits in the few unauthorized locations left has reduced by more than 90%. Operation Vanguard has been particularly effective in helping to restore the order which has permitted the reopening of the famous Obuasi mine of AngloGold Ashanti. The community mining program, Mr. Speaker, the community mining program has been well received by the population, and young men and women who did not have the resources to acquire concessions and excavators and other mining inputs, and therefore had to do galamsey, have moved into legal community mining. Now, more than 20,000 individuals are earning their incomes legitimately in the community mines in Akufo-Addo, Echuma Nwabeja, Echuma Mpunya, Adansi North, Amansi Central, Wassa Amenfi East, and Wassa East districts. Since the introduction of the community mining program, there have been no deaths due to the collapse of tunnels and pits. The Interministerial Committee, along with Operation Vanguard, were determined to disrupt galamsey activities by confiscating equipment that were employed in these activities. In this regard, 12,000 Shangfan machines that go on the river and scoop up the riverbed were seized and destroyed on site. Some excavators were also seized, and a number of them have gone missing. The police have arrested and charged some of the alleged culprits, and investigations are ongoing. No one involved will be shielded, no matter what their positions or political colors are. Mr. Speaker, we've made significant strides over the last 3 years in our fight against corruption, despite of the skepticism of people with questionable records. We've strengthened the legal framework to fight corruption with the help of this House by passing into law the Witness Protection Act, 2018, Act 959, the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act, 2018, Act 959, the Right to Information Act, 2019, Act 989, and the Companies Act, 2019, Act 992, which provides a framework for enacting a beneficial ownership register. The government has increased budgetary allocations to all the accountability institutions of state, including the Parliament of Ghana, the Judiciary, SHRAJ, EYOCO, the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, the Auditor General, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and the Ghana Police Service, with annual increases between 25% and 34% between 2017 and 2019. We have also implemented a change from the opaque allocation of Ghana's oil blocks to a more transparent allocation process, and advisedly so. The opaque period, 2013 to 2016, saw According to the Ministry of Energy, the signature of 13 petroleum agreements, from which 14 wells were to be drilled. Not a single well was drilled. In contrast, in my time, over the last 3 years, there have been 6 drilling campaigns on 3 different blocks, with others on the way. We will drill more and find more oil. Some 40 or more high-profile personalities are currently before the courts on various corruption charges, and most are in the pipeline. I would like to repeat that if evidence of corruption is presented, no one will be spared, regardless of position or political affiliation. No one is above the law. That is the true meaning of equality before the law. Mr. Speaker, as part of our strategy to modernize the economy, deliver government services efficiently, and curb corruption, Ghana has, over the last 3 years, embarked on a major program of digitization of the economy with significant success. At the end of last week, 9.2 million people have been registered on the national ID card, the Ghana card. Before the end of this year, Ghana will have a fully working national ID system, which will be a game changer for our nation. Mr. Speaker, we're also providing infrastructure to many Zongo communities across the country through the Zongo Development Fund. Mr. Speaker, we're seeing an improvement in the quality of our nation's sanitation, even though we still have a lot more to do. According to the Northern Regional Environmental Health Unit, in the 3 northern regions, that is Savannah, Northeast, and Northern, the number of open defecation-free communities has increased. ODF has increased from 5% as of June 2016 to some 58% as of July 2019. The latest data from the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources shows that ODF communities in Ghana as a whole have increased from 410 in 2016 to over 5,000 communities. Now that is progress. And it did not just happen. It took hard work, commitment, and the provision of infrastructure. In fulfillment of our manifesto commitment of toilets for all, we have built 13,800 toilets, which is largely responsible for this development. Mr. Speaker, we have not stopped building toilets. We will build more. Mr. Speaker, another good example of deliberate, well-thought-out policy executed through hard work and commitment that is generating dividends is what we've done about food and agriculture in the past 3 years. It bears repeating that agriculture was very much in the doldrums when we came into office, with a growth rate of 2.9%. We introduced the program for planting for food and jobs and set about to make agriculture an attractive profession. We invested resources, expertise, and time, and the results have been impressive and rewarding. The growth rate in 2016 was 6.1%, and this increased to 6.4% last year. Increased production and high yields of some foodstuffs like maize, rice, sorghum, groundnuts, soybean, cowpea, cassava, and plantain have led to a decrease in the wholesale prices in market centers in major food-producing areas. Furthermore, we're no longer importers of maize. We're reducing our dependence on rice imports and are now, in effect, net exporters of foodstuffs. Food prices are their lowest in decades. Mr. Speaker, I must provide some examples of what I mean by things not just happening by happenstance, but by deliberate and meticulous planning and competent execution. We recruited some 2,700 agricultural extension agents to give practical expertise on the farms. We are not yet at the United Nations recommended ratio of 1 extension officer to 500 farmers, but we're working to get there. And it is definitely a vast improvement on the decimated department we met on the assumption of office. With the support of Canada, 300 vehicles and 3,000 motor bicycles have been deployed around the country for ease of movement for those tasked to help the farmers. Once the foodstuffs are produced, we don't leave it to chance and risk not being able to sell and thereby discourage the farmers. The National Food and Buffer Stock Company, NAFCO, has been revitalized to enhance agricultural marketing and improve access to market. NAFCO is promoting institutional procurement of produce and sales to schools and hospitals. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to inform you that the Commodities Exchange in Ghana, which is fully operational, is promoting high productivity, price stability, increased exports, and reduced imports of commodities. Trading operations through an electronic trading platform commenced in November 2018. To increase storage capacity, 80 warehouses, each of a size of 1,000 metric tons, are being built around the country. 35 have been completed by the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives and 13 by the Ministry of Agriculture. The Ministry of Agriculture will complete the remaining 17 soon, and the Special Development Initiative Ministry will complete another 10 by June. In other words, Mr. Speaker, every part of the value chain is planned and accounted for. The diversification of the scheme ensures that there will be something to interest a wide variety of people. That is, it is not only foodstuffs that are on offer. The Planting for Export and Rural Development PERD module promotes the following tree crops: cashew, coffee, coconut, oil palm, mango, rubber, and shea. Parliament has contributed to the process of agricultural transformation by the establishment of the Tree Crop Development Authority, which is going to be responsible for husbanding the industries of these tree crops into full maturity and expand by 7-fold our earnings from agriculture. The Rearing for Food and Jobs RFJ program is developing a competitive and more efficient livestock industry that will increase domestic meat production and reduce importation of livestock. 265 small earth dams have also been completed under the One Village, One Dam initiative. More will be done this year. At the heart of all these efforts is the determination to make agriculture an attractive business to young, educated Ghanaians. And that is why modernization, mechanization, and the use of technology are all part of the scheme. Digital and internet maps of soil fertility status in the Northern Savannah Ecological Zone are being made available to facilitate informed decision-making on fertilizer formulation and application. If any more proof were needed that under this government, agriculture is a high-tech undertaking, Mr. Speaker, an electronic platform has been established to capture and monitor the activities of participating farmers. As of December 2019, 500,000 farmers had been biometrically registered. Mr. Speaker, it gives me great joy to be able to tell this House that modernization is finally coming to the fishing industry as well. New ways of doing things are being accepted, and our fisher folk are now ready to take a leap into scientific and sustainable methods of fishing. For 2 consecutive years now, our fisher folk have accepted a closed season and allowed fishers to spawn without disturbance in our waters. Constructions of the 10 long-promised, much-publicized landing sites in Senya Breku, Elmina, Moree, Mumford, Winneba, Gumwa Fete, Disco, Axim, Tessie, and Kita have finally started. Axim, Disco, Senya Breku, and Gumwa Fete will be completed by the end of this year, with the remainder being completed early next year. Construction of the Jamestown Harbor will commence in March, following the completion of technical work. Mr. Speaker, I'm looking forward to the business resource centers being built, helping the country to unearth some exciting young entrepreneurs. 37 of them have been completed. These centers are one-stop enterprise support centers that provide full range of business development services, investment facilitation and information services to entrepreneurs and business enterprises at the district level. On Monday, I was very pleased to be at Kijibi in the Oti region to commission one of the 37 BRCs that have been completed around the country. In November last year, I commissioned another one at the Fidrasi Asokore in the Ashanti region. The BRCs are all being equipped with modern IT infrastructure and networked through a virtual private network to facilitate efficient delivery of their operations. We have built 37. We're building 30 more. The young people that I met during the presidential pitch program, for example, give me a lot of hope and assure me as having the potential to benefit from the BRCs, the National Entrepreneurship and Innovations Plan, NEIP, and take on the world. Mr. Speaker, the government is aggressively pursuing its plans for industrial transformation. Whilst the Business Development Ministry works on bringing out entrepreneurial skills and encouraging young people to spot business opportunities, we're paying greater attention to making Ghana an easy place to do business and set up industries. Having won the bid to host the headquarters of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, in Accra, the government has provided a permanent office building to host the Secretariat. And with the appointment of the Secretary General in Addis Ababa 2 weeks ago at the recent AU Summit, the office will become operational by the end of next month. We extend our warm congratulations to the first Secretary General, Mr. Wamkele Meni, the young South African, and assure him that we'll give him our fullest cooperation to ensure he succeeds. Speaker, we launched the Ghana Automotive Development Policy in August last year, and it has so far attracted investment and commercial interest from some very big players, including Toyota, Volkswagen, Nissan, Renault, Hyundai, Sinotruk, and Suzuki. VW is building its plant in the North Industrial Area in Accra and is due to start production by the end of April. Sinotruk has begun assembling its trucks. Toyota is scheduled to start the assembly of vehicles in Tema in the last quarter of this year. We have high hopes for this new industry, which has come to join our own Kantanka. Speaker, we are determined at long last to exploit our large bauxite, manganese, and iron ore deposits, which will enable us to establish an integrated bauxite and aluminum industry and an iron and steel industry. The Ghana Integrated Bauxite and Aluminum Development Corporation and the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Corporation have been established by law as the vehicles for this exploitation. The processes are underway for the selection this year of joint venture partners for the development of the full value chain of these two multi-billion-dollar industries, which will give a tremendous boost to Ghanaian industrialization. Mr. Speaker, all our best-laid plans for industrialization will come to naught unless we have a reliable and reasonably priced energy source. It probably says something about the progress we have made that in discussing the state of our nation, it takes a while even to get into our power supply matters. It gives me great pleasure to be able to say that we have overcome the doomsaw menace. But unfortunately, I cannot say that we have resolved all our energy problems. It is still work in progress. Further, the 5 years of energy crisis led to the signing of what can only be described as usurious contracts that have landed our country with a huge financial burden. The take-or-pay contracts resulted in the country being saddled with expensive excess power and are having to pay nearly $1 billion United States dollars in 2018 and 2019 for power we did not need. We're working to find a way out to ensure reliable power supply at a cost that makes us competitive in the region. In the meantime, the industrialization flagship project, One District, One Factory, is progressing and beginning to show dividends. A total of 181 projects spread across 112 districts are currently at various stages of implementation under the program. 58 companies already in operation, 26 projects currently under construction, 58 AFDB small-scale projects ready for soil cutting in the early part of this year, and 26 pipeline projects are ready to commence implementation by the first quarter of this year. Exim Bank last month signed a $100 million United States dollar facility with Credit Suisse to help complete this year 20 of the export-related factories. It is envisaged that the ID1D1F initiative will generate a total of 228,886 direct and indirect jobs. Even though the latest Ghana Living Standard Survey has recorded a drop in unemployment from 11.9% in 2015 to 7.3% in 2019, we still need to do more to create more jobs with urgency. Struggling existing businesses are also being revived and expanded under the 1D1F scheme. There's nothing contrary to the philosophy that underpins 1D1F if an already existing enterprise is helped to expand and employ more people. So, Speaker, all our plans, all our hopes, all our expectations for a brighter tomorrow will only come to fruition if we can guarantee an educated and skilled workforce. A look at the national budget gives a clear indication of where our priority lies, and it is with education. The pre-tertiary education bill, currently before Parliament, defines the priorities. Basic education is being redefined to include senior high school, and this covers vocational, agricultural, and technical schools. The emphasis is aggressively to promote science, technology, and engineering and mathematics, STEM education, across all levels of the education system. I'm aware that some of the teacher unions have concerns over the proposed legislation. I would like to add my voice to that of Parliament in encouraging the unions to deepen their engagement with the Ministry of Education in order to find a consensus that will enable the bill to go forward in peace. Mr. Speaker, it was a manifesto commitment to leverage technology to popularize the teaching and learning of mathematics. It was with an eye to the future that we decided to demystify mathematics and make Ghana a mathematics-friendly country. We need more engineering and technically minded people to be able to transform the economy. I'm glad to report that Ghana's teachers are supportive of the many changes that are being introduced to make these hopes a reality. Yes, the first cohort of free senior high school students are now getting ready to take their West African Senior Secondary Certificate examination waxing, and we look forward to them doing well. Despite the continuing hostility of a few about the merits of the free senior high school policy, I'm glad to note that it has been widely accepted by the overwhelming majority of Ghanaians. Yes, we still have some difficulties with infrastructure deficits, which are being vigorously addressed with the construction of 962 facilities, dormitories, dining halls, assembly halls, and classroom blocks, together with the provision of desks and beds. But the argument about the importance of ensuring that all Ghana's children get a secondary education is irresistible. In the best of worlds, the conversation should move on to the fastest way to provide laboratories and workshops to make all of Ghana's children ICT competent. The conversation should move on to how quickly we can transform our children into technically minded and mathematics-loving students. But the government is trying to move the conversation to technical, vocational, and educational training TVET, becoming the instinctive choice for children at school. We're moving the conversation to ensuring that even when an institution is designated as a technical institution, it delivers technical courses. And just in case I need to remind anyone, TVET has always been part of free SHS. Or if you prefer, call it free TVET. I'm well aware that we need a happy and contented group of teachers to ensure that the teaching and learning environment is happy and safe for our children. We have restored the teacher trainee allowances, employed 67,000 teachers, paid Tier 2 pension funds of teachers, cleared the 3-year backlog of non-promotion of teachers, abandoned the 3-month pay policy we inherited for newly recruited teachers, and cleared 92% of the legacy arrears. We have resourced the research and book allowances that were canceled. And we have agreed to grant teachers a professional allowance. The new promotion policy for teachers, announced some 2 weeks ago, has been well received by teachers. The government is determined to restore dignity to the teaching profession. We want the teachers to accept that they hold our destinies in their hands. I'm happy to note, Mr. Speaker, that sporting activities are finding their way back into the regular school curriculum. I'm told the inter-school sporting activities are once again attaining the keen competitive edge that those of us of a certain age remember. Speaker, 10 youth and sports centers of excellence are being constructed across 10 regions of the country at Wa, Doma, Dunkwa, Onofin, Ho, Koforidua, Nyinehi, Yendi, Navrongo, Axim, and Kanisi. To harness and develop the entrepreneurial abilities and sporting talents of the youth. All 10 will be completed this year, and the 6 newly created regions will also be provided with the same facilities from this year. Each center will have a counseling center for entrepreneurship development, a conference center, an ICT center, a restaurant, hostel facility and offices, a FIFA standard football pitch, an 8-lane athletic track, tennis courts, multi-purpose courts for basketball, handball, tennis, volleyball, and other sporting disciplines, and a gymnasium. We're making sure there'll be room for the future Alice Anums, Micah Hayes, and Baba Yaras to develop their skills. We want to make sure that when our children turn on the televisions to watch sporting programs, they will be able to find on the track and field and tracks Ghanaians competing at the highest levels. It was with considerable reluctance, Mr. Speaker, that government had to intervene in the administration of football when we decided to dissolve the old GFA because of the bribery and corruption that engulfed its operation. Government worked with FIFA, established the Normalization Committee, and helped bring a new GFA into being. I'm happy to know that football, the passion of the nation, has returned to full normalcy following the election of the new president of the Ghana Football Association, Mr. Kurt Okraku, and I congratulate him on his election. The Ghana Premier League has started, and let us all help bring back the love. Mr. Speaker, this year we're to conduct a national census, and it is incumbent on every citizen to cooperate with the Ghana Statistical Service to enable the service produce an accurate census and data for our effective socio-economic planning. Mr. Speaker, we never lose sight of the fact that there are always some people who might not be able to run life's race at the same frenetic pace as the majority of people. It is the responsibility of government always to provide the safety net that will ensure that the poor and vulnerable are not excluded from the development agenda. We will continue to improve and expand that the poor and vulnerable are not excluded from the development agenda. We'll continue to improve and expand social protection intervention to cover those who need them. It is critical that the social protection interventions are targeted at those who genuinely need them and those who would also use them to help lift themselves out of poverty. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana National Household Registry, in collaboration with the Ghana Statistical Service, is collecting data on all extremely poor households in the country through interinstitutional coordination to ensure efficiency and effectiveness in social protection spending and eliminate duplication in targeting and selection of beneficiaries for social protection programs. Mr. Speaker, let me give an example of the type of help. For the first time in the country's history, a dedicated fund of 5 million cedis to support women entrepreneurs with disability has been established. The fund, known as Presidential Empowerment for Women Entrepreneurs with Disability, is to provide financial support to 1,000 women entrepreneurs with disability in 2 years, either to establish or scale up their businesses. So far, 850 women entrepreneurs with disability across the country have benefited from the fund, which is 50% grant and 50% loan without interest. The support has enabled the women to expand their businesses and to create 180 direct jobs and many more indirect jobs. The Presidential Empowerment for Women Entrepreneurs with Disability does not only help deliver a manifesto commitment, it is also in fulfillment of SDG Goals 5, 8, and 10, which aim to ensure economic inclusion of women and to harness their talents and capabilities for national development. Speaker, we have begun the process of amending the Disability Act, Act 715, to comply with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and hopefully this House will pass it before the end of the year. As part of the disability inclusive policy of government, all metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies have representations of persons with disabilities to enable them partake in local level governance. Mr. Speaker, the general health of the people is an important ingredient in making rapid development. 65,000 new healthcare personnel from 2017 to date have been recruited. The National Health Insurance Scheme is operating more adequately and is enjoying the confidence of the increasing numbers of its users, with the number of active members up from 10.6 million in 2016 to 12.3 million at the end of 2019. I remember last year, I urged Ghanaians to renew their NHIS membership by dialing *929# on any mobile phone network. I'm glad it has had an impact, as 5 million people renewed their NHIS membership through the Mobile Renewal Services platform in 2019. As the nation has made progress in eradicating the communicable diseases that used to be the main cause of mortality, we're in danger of falling into the lifestyle disease trap. Too many of us are overweight. And obesity is an increasing problem, even among young people. The foods we eat, Speaker, the foods we eat, the mode of cooking, and the lack of exercise are all now having a great impression on our health. It is time we all learn to take responsibility for our individual health and accept that our health is very much determined by our lifestyle. Speaker, one big problem we have is how we move people and goods from place to place. I'm glad to report that we're making significant and very viable progress in the railway sector. We can now take for granted, and as part of the normal transportation routes, the rehabilitation of some of the old narrow gauge lines that have been pressed back into service. The Tema to Accra line has been operational for 2 years, and the Accra to Nsawam line would soon be. The Takoradi to Takwa line was inaugurated a few weeks ago and is proving to be very popular and being enthusiastically patronized. Mr. Speaker, there are other suburban lines that we will soon be brought into our everyday lives. Those are exciting, of course, but the big one remains the Tema to Ouagadougou, or to put it less dramatically, the Accra to Paga line. What started as the Tema to Paga railway line has become the Ghana to Burkina Faso interconnectivity project. Approximately 800 kilometers of this rail line will be in Ghana and 200 kilometers in Burkina Faso. Speaker, Ghana Cabinet has approved the final route for this line. The approximately 100-kilometer Tema to Akwamu in Pakadai line is the first section of the Tema to Ouagadougou rail line. At the environments of Juapong, a branch line from Tema to Pakadai will continue through Hohoi, Nkwanta, Dambai, Yendi, Tamale, Waliwali, Nalerigu, Sheni, Bogatanga, and then to Paga as the remaining 700 kilometers of the Tema to Ouagadougou railway. Mr. Speaker, the consultants of the project have submitted their final report, and the two governments have begun the final stage of procurement for the strategic investor. I'm confident that this year the strategic investor will be chosen. The preparation for construction has already commenced with the choice of the final route, and the acquisition of land, the right-of-way, will start immediately. The contractors have assured the government that the Tema to Kwakadine line, which includes a 300-meter rail bridge over the Volta region, will be completed in August. Those who travel along the Accra to Akosombo route will testify that this is a reality, as we can all see the work being done. I hope myself to travel on that line in August. Thank you. We can safely say that the rail line journey to Paga has begun. What is going on to develop the rail network in other parts of the country? There will be activity on the Eastern Line this year, and construction will commence from the Kumasi to Nyinahi via Adwading rail line. In addition to the intercity and regional railway lines, government is committed to developing suburban rail lines and inner-city light rail to ease the oppressive traffic situation within our cities. What is obviously popularly referred to as the Western Line is receiving attention. The Kujokrom to Manso section, approximately 22-kilometer section of the line with a 350-meter viaduct, is being developed. To speed up the development of the line, the contractor has been asked to develop a new standard gauge line with the port of Takoradi to convert the Takoradi to Kujokrom narrow gauge into a standard gauge line, and also to continue the development of the new standard gauge line from Manso to Hulu Valley. The Kumasi section of the Western Line will also receive attention this year, since government has decided to develop the Western Line from Takoradi towards Kumasi and from Kumasi towards Takoradi. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to announce that the development of the Kumasi to Aduabdi section of the Western Line will commence this year. Mr. Speaker, just in case there's someone here who might have missed it, I'd like to announce and inform the House that this year, the year of our Lord 2020, has been declared the year of roads. Mr. Speaker, when we declared last year, 2019, as the year of return, it was not because Africans in the diaspora had not been visiting Ghana throughout the years to reconnect with their past. We wanted to make a special year of it. We wanted to draw attention to it and inform the whole world. We considered it important. That is the idea of the year of roads. There are legitimate cases to be made for emphasis to be placed on any of the many deficits in our infrastructure. This year, this government is saying we're putting the emphasis on roads. Gradually, the backlog of debts owed to contractors is being cleared, and many of them are able to go back to the jobs to finish them. A list of some critical roads has been drawn up, and work has started on them. Some of the names of the roads on this list have featured repeatedly in various speeches before this House in the past 30 years. Some of them have been featured on lists of roads that have been claimed to have been built, but that have been turned out to have been artists' impressions. Some of the roads on the list have indeed been said to have been built by so-called reputable contractors, but they have not survived 2 rainy seasons. Mr. Speaker, I speak for all of us in this House when I say the most frequent and the most passionate complaints we get from our constituency are about roads. I therefore expect that everyone will take an interest in the work that are being done and going to be done. Let us all take an interest and ensure that we get value for money. Never again should it be that a political party or government be allowed to claim to have built a road, a school, or a hospital when they have not done so. No longer should it be permissible the project supervisors and consultants sign off on buildings and roads for contractors to be paid for shoddy work or work not done. We live in these communities where these fake projects are said to have been undertaken, and we should make it each our business to ensure the work is what it claims to be, and contractors get paid for work they have indeed done. The ministry has published the list of critical roads that the government is undertaking to do, and I shall not be reciting them here. I'm sure we have all our favorite amongst the list. However, I would like to mention a few. The upgrading of the Atebubu Kwame Danso Kujokrom Road. And this would be in honor of our former Chief Justice, Justice Sophia Akufo, who once gave me a hair-raising account of a trip she took on that road. The second choice I make is the Hohoi Jasikan Dodo Pepeso stretch. We shall all be greatly relieved when it is finally done. There are others such as Benchima and Kwanta Jefua, Bogatanga Boko, Kumasi and Greater Accra inner city roads. And this is the first time that four flyovers and interchanges are being constructed at the same time in our history. Speaker, I'm sure that like the year of return, which after its success has now been declared by some as the decade of return, we'll be declaring a decade of roads until we get a road network that meets the needs of a modern industrialized Ghana. Speaker, one of the major beneficiaries of the year of return was the creative arts industry. Our commitment to the development of Ghana's creative arts industry is absolute. I inaugurated in December last year the National Film Authority, whose function it is to supervise an economically self-sustaining and culturally conscious film industry in the country. The Creative Arts Industry Bill has been presented to Cabinet for consideration, and once passed by Parliament, the Act will establish the Creative Arts Fund and an agency to promote the industry. Government has also reaffirmed its commitment to the growth of the industry